I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. I bet you didn't know that that's the first commandment. At least it is if you're a Jew. Did you know that the commandments are numbered differently based on tradition? There are 613 laws in the Torah, but for some reason people just seem to be focused on these 10. But what do these 10 commandments still mean for us today? And what did they mean for the ancient Israelites? Let's walk. My name is Rob, and I am a blue collar Bible enthusiast. So, like I said, there are 613 laws in the Torah, and for some reason, these 10 stand out for people. In the United States, you will see the 10 Commandments posted outside of some courthouses, and there is a push in some states right now to display them in public schools. As a Canadian, this is wild to me. It's also wild to me that some of the people that want to display the 10 Commandments in courthouses or public schools probably couldn't name all 10. Some of these commandments are completely irrelevant. Why is it so important that we know not to work on a Saturday, or not to make a graven image, or not to want things that my neighbor has? So, what are the 10 Commandments exactly? Well, that would depend on who you ask, because the 10 Commandments are ordered differently based on tradition. So I'm going to focus on three different traditions here: Jewish, Protestant, and Catholic. As you can see here in the Jewish tradition, the first commandment is, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. But the Catholic and Protestant traditions think of this as more of an introduction. Then the Jews and Catholics group no gods before me and no graven image as one commandment, and the Protestants consider them two separate commandments. Then the rest of the commandments are the same between the Jews and the Protestants, but the Catholics separate coveting your neighbor's wife from the rest of his possessions. Now I want to focus on that last bit here. Women were very much considered to be property. You see, if you read verse 17 in full, it is really just grouped as one complete command. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, male or female slave, ox, donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. If anything, the house should be separate, as the wife just gets clumped in there with all of his other possessions, like his slaves and donkey. This is very much a thing in the Mosaic Law. Women were considered property, either of their husbands or of their fathers. In one of the non-Ten Commandment laws, it says, Then Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes of the Israelites, saying, This is what the Lord has commanded. When a man makes a vow to the Lord or swears an oath to bind himself by a pledge, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth. So here God is saying that a man who makes a promise to God must follow through. It goes on to say, when a woman makes a vow to the Lord or binds herself by a pledge while in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears of her vow and her pledge, by which she has bound herself and says nothing to her, then all her vows shall stand, and any pledge by which she has bound herself shall stand. But if her father overrules her at the time that he hears of it, no vows of her and no pledge by which she has bound herself shall stand, and the Lord will forgive her because her father overruled her. So if a daughter makes a vow to God and her father hears about it, he can overrule it. It is no longer valid. It goes on to say that if she gets married, the husband now has that same overruling power that her father did. I could go on and on about how women were treated as property in the Mosaic Law, but I just wanted to say this one thing to point out why women or wives were grouped in that clump of the neighbor's possessions. Let's go through the rest of the commandments, and I'm going to go through them in the Jewish order. Number 1, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of slavery. God is just reminding them what he did for them and that they should respect his authority.
Respect my daughter!
Number 2, You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol, whether in the form of anything that is in heaven above, or that is on the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. I've mentioned in other videos that the ancient Israelites were not monotheists, they were henotheists. They believed that other gods existed, they just weren't allowed to worship those gods. And that's what he's talking about here. You shall have no other gods before me. And the same in that first commandment, I am the Lord your God. This very much is indicating that Yahweh is not a God for everyone. He is just a God for the Israelites. He is also very much against idol worshiping, and the punishment for it is quite severe. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing children for the iniquity of parents to the third and fourth generation of those who reject me. Well, I sure hope my great 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 grandparents weren't idol worshippers. But don't you think this is a bit of an overreaction? I mean, when Moses went up Mount Sinai to get the Ten Commandments from God and the Israelites got impatient, Moses was the mediator between the Israelites and Yahweh. And when he was away for so long, they started to freak out because they had lost their middleman between them and God. So that's when they created the golden calf. The golden calf was just a representation of Yahweh because they needed something to worship. But when Moses came back down and saw this, he got quite upset and threw the Ten Commandment tablets, and they broke. On to number 3. You shall not make wrongful use of the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not acquit anyone who misuses his name. I swear to God, this isn't just about saying holy shit or oh my God. This is about making an oath in the name of God, or misrepresenting God, or claiming to be a false prophet. Number 4. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. You shall not do any work. Essentially, don't work on a Saturday. God created the world in 7 days, he rested on the 7th, and so should you. And don't think that you can cheat by getting your kids to do the work for you or getting your slaves to do the work for you. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. You shall not do any work. You, your son, your daughter, your male or female slave, your livestock, or the alien resident in your towns. Even the cows get a day off. You know, I'm reminded of this interview that Bill Maher did on Club Random with Charlie Kirk. And Bill Maher says that the first 4 commandments are just jealous God shit.
Do you think, even as an atheist, the Ten Commandments, the right side of the Ten Commandments is a good place to
The
start?
right side.
Well, because the left side, I think you'd have a big problem, right?
I have a problem with 8 of the 10 because only 2 of them are laws.
You got a problem with 8 of the 10.
2 of them are laws. Only 2.
What do you mean?
Don't kill
And don't steal. Okay,
and don't steal.
sure.
God is
But
this.
you're good with those 2.
Like
obviously.
the first 4 are just jealous God shit. It's just like, you know what?
No,
God,
honoring
like-
your parents
like-
is not jealous
like,
God stuff.
God.
Now is Bill right? You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing children for the iniquity of the parents to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who reject me. God seems to think so. Now I know Charlie said that honor your mother and father was not one of the jealous God commandments, and you may be saying to yourself, but wait, we haven't covered the honor your mother and father in the first 4 commandments. But if you go back to that chart at the beginning, you can see that the Catholics consider honor your mother and father as the 4th commandment. Number 5. Honor your father and your mother, so that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God has given you. Traditionally, for most of you, this means to treat your parents with respect. But there's a Hebrew Bible scholar named Joel Baden who seems to think that this is meant more about honoring the graves of your parents or your ancestors. There's archaeological evidence in the land of Judah where we can see that people have brought provisions to the grave sites of their ancestors. So this isn't so much about honoring them while they're alive, but honoring them post mortem. Number 6, thou shalt not kill. I'm using the King James for this because it just sounds so good. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know God has no problem killing people. Babies, women, you name it. He'll kill them. He'll command the killing of them. However, the correct translation of this is not killing, it's murder. There's a difference between killing someone in battle and killing someone in cold blood because you didn't like them or you didn't like something that they did. Number 7, thou shalt not commit adultery. You can go and look at all of the laws of Moses, and it will be clear. This is about property rights. This is protecting the property rights of the husband. If you sleep with another man's husband, you have damaged his property. However, there was a shift where this switched from property rights to a moral law. Remember what Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you, that anyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to go into hell. Number 8, thou shalt not steal. It means exactly what you think it means. I have nothing to add here. Don't take things that don't belong to you. Number 9, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Now, everybody thinks this means thou shalt not lie, but it specifies the neighbor. Now, what is the neighbor to the ancient Israelites? It is other ancient Israelites. Anytime you read neighbor in the Old Testament, it is talking about other Israelites, not other people, not who lives next to you. It is your fellow Israelites. So, what this is saying, don't throw your other Israelite under the bus. Don't slander them or make them look bad or do anything like that. That is what this commandment is really about. And that is your 10 commandments. We already did number 10 at the beginning about the neighbor's wife being grouped in with his donkey and his slaves. So those are the 10 commandments that Moses had on the tablets, but when he went down and saw the Israelites worshiping the golden calf, he threw them down on the ground out of anger and destroyed them. The 10 commandments show up 3 times in the Torah. Here in chapter 20 of the book of Exodus, and they'll show up again in chapter 34, and we'll get to that in a second. They also show up in the book of Deuteronomy. Now, Exodus 20 and the Deuteronomy 10 commandments are pretty much the same. The ones in chapter 34 are quite different. This is when God gives Moses the 10 commandments again to replace the ones that he broke. The Lord God said to Moses, cut 2 tablets out of stone like the former ones, and I will write on the tablets the words that were on the former tablets, which you broke. Be ready in the morning and come up in the morning to Mount Sinai and present yourself there to me on the top of the mountain. Now, what's interesting here is that God says that he will write down on the tablets exactly what was written on the other ones. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail with these ones, but I'm going to list these 10 commandments as well. Worship only Yahweh. No molten gods. Observe the feast of the unleavened bread. That's a 7-day celebration remembering the Exodus. Consecrate the firstborn. Yeah, for this one, I'm going to put the whole verse up. All that first opens the womb is mine. All your male livestock, the firstborn of cow and sheep, the firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, or if you will not redeem it, you shall break its neck. All the firstborn of your sons you shall redeem. No one shall appear before me empty-handed. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's talking about child sacrifice. Keep the Sabbath. Festival of weeks and ingathering. Just like wanting the firstborn of your livestock, he wants the first fruits of your wheat harvest to celebrate at the end of the year. 3 annual pilgrimages. All the males are required to appear before God 3 times a year. No leavened bread with sacrifices. Observe the Passover, but make sure you clean up before morning. Bring the first fruits of the ground. Also, what you have growing in the ground must be first offered to God. And a little addition before finishing it off: you shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. The Lord said to Moses, "Write these words, for in accordance with these words I have made a covenant with you and Israel." Hold on a second. Didn't God say at the beginning that he was going to write these commandments down? The Lord said to Moses, "Cut 2 tablets of stone, like the former ones, and I will write on the tablets the words that were on the former tablets, which you broke." Yeah, he did say that he was going to write them down. What the hell? Whatever. He was there with the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights. He neither ate bread nor drank water, and he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. Now, these 10 commandments are actually called the 10 commandments. And these are the commandments that will eventually get put in the Ark of the Covenant and placed in the Holy of Holies inside the tabernacle. Now, to me, these all sound like jealous God shit. Hell, he even admits it at the beginning of these ones. For you shall worship no other God, because the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. And that is the end of my video on the 10 Commandments. And I command you to like this video. Share it with your friends. If you like what I said, let me know. If you don't like what I said, let me know. Let's talk. Also, let's walk next week in my next video. Thank you.